Okay, so I am going to read the next section of The Boy Who Would Be a Helicopter. And when I last was reading this yesterday with Morgan in class, which you probably should have watched, we were just starting to have kind of like a page for each student to make some observations and sort of start like figuring out what value the things that Vivian is documenting for us, what they kind of reveal to us about children. So the next chapter is the teacher and theory maker, and I have in the back of my mind my purpose, which I know ultimately is going to be doing a child study of Jason. But I know that Anna is also going to be kind of like tracking what some of the other children are doing, and kind of I'll be showing like how I can use that information in different ways as appropriate. So teacher and theory maker on, I believe, page 15. I was neither a good listener nor an able storyteller when my name became teacher. What I doubtless knew as a child was buried under piles of disconnected information. I was a stranger in the classroom, grown distant from the thinking of children. I knew myself no better than I did the children. How was I to behave? How could I know what to say to so many children when I could hardly recall anything a teacher ever said to me? Paradoxically, as the focus shifted from me to the children, what does it mean to be a child? And what do children think about in the classroom? I began to see my own role more clearly. A graduate student named Fritz helped me begin to listen to the children. He wondered about the accuracy of a teacher's perceptions, and among other things, he proved to me that a boy named Charles was not a villain disguised as a 5-year-old. Charles, you're grabbing all the sand, I cry, rushing to defend his classmate. He didn't mind, I need it, but that pile is in front of Tommy. You didn't ask him. He knows that's where the castle has to be. Charles is the biggest troublemaker, I complained, but Fritz's charts revealed otherwise. Charles, in fact, was a leader in non-aggressive play 80% of the time. Apparently, I was the troublemaker. 70% of my comments to Charles were negative. None of this surprised Fritz, who measured and charted each day the amount of time I believed Charles was misbehaving and the reality of the case. Fritz was accustomed to such large variances, but I was distraught. Pitying me, Fritz offered charts with which to improve my behavior, the goal being an 85% positive ratio. I lost my spot. Response. Obediently, I kept an eye on the clock, said good things to Charles, and checked off the daily columns. The chart keeping lasted only a week, but was not without value. As with nearly all the research I encountered, it made me observe the scene more closely. Listening to Charles in order to compliment him, I heard the reasons for his classmates' esteem. He provided them with an unending supply of character and plots. Hey, Tom, you want to play castle? This is a drawbridge. I got the key for it. You can't. There wasn't no keys invented yet. This is the only place keys can go. Okay, put it there. He's a fighting space. It's a fighting spaceship. It can kill someone by its power. Hurry up, pull up the drawbridge. The invisible bees is here. Quick, get your magic key. Pretend this is magic. Touch it, and we turn into dragons. I measured my resistance against the children's eagerness and wondered what I was missing. And since I was now doing the wondering, not Fritz, the matter was destined to reach larger proportions. Until I had my own questions to ask, my own set of events to watch, and my own ways of combining all of these with teaching. I didn't learn very much. Charts were not my way. This had been true also when I was a school child, but I had forgotten. And even Piaget, whose experiments I repeated for 3 years and whose every word about children seemed remarkable and true, even Piaget could not direct me to take my own next step or prepare me for discussions such as the following. We must talk about cleanup, I say one day at rug time. I have a complaint. Too many children are not helping. Some of you go into the book room instead of doing a job. Well, you could put a trap door, Joseph says. I'm serious, Joseph. We're not talking about trapdoors. I'm talking about people who don't help clean up. Lock them in, Samantha offers. Then they'll be locked up. A trapdoor is better, Joseph insists. See, if they're in there at cleanup time, it would fly open and trap them. Someone could get hurt, I say. I agree with Joseph, Simon shouts. Then they fall where the cleanup job is. Yeah, trapdoor is great, Alex joins in. It's a slide, so they don't fall. They slide up to the job. What if they fall back down? I think locking is better, Arlene says. Yeah, because I could find the key. The discussion has galloped away from me. Once a magical solution is suggested, there is no way to bring the children back, but I try. I don't care for the idea of a trapdoor. Let's figure out some new rules. Get a guard, Simon says, with a gun. No shooting, right, teacher? Samantha's determined to be reasonable. Okay, a trapdoor then, she concludes. Joseph's trapdoor image, however, hovers over us, and my notion of reality is overwhelmed by the children's desire to place the problem in a fantastical setting. They don't pretend to be storytellers. They are storytellers. It's their intuitive approach to all occasions. It is the way they think. For a while, cleanup is better. People always are more agreeable and generous after a good talk. And trapdoors... Oh, wait. In this case, the children prefer to imagine armed guards and trapdoors as more sensible reasons for our endless cleanup chores. It makes for a better story. We were taught to say that play is the work of children, but watching and listening to them, I saw that play was nothing less than truth and life. In moving from the glib acceptance of play to a serious analysis of its content, I have studied the subject through teaching and writing, and I cannot do one without the other. For me, the tape recorder is a necessity. I transcribe each day's play and stories and conversations, and then make up my own stories about what is happening. The next morning, my reality will be measured alongside the children's. As with play itself, the process is never ending. The children invent new images and symbols every year, and I continually expand my definitions of what we are doing in the classroom. There was a time when I believed it was my task to show the children how to solve their problems. I wrote, I don't ask you to stop thinking about play. Our contract reads more like this. If you keep trying to explain yourselves, I will keep showing you how to think about the problems you need to solve. After a few years, the contract needed to be rewritten. Let me study your play and figure out how play helps you solve your problems. Play contains your questions, and I must know what questions you are asking before mine will be useful. Even this is not accurate enough. Today I would add, put your play into formal narratives, and I will help you and your classmates listen to one another. In this way, you will build a literature of images and themes, of beginnings and endings, of references and allusions. You must invent your own literature if you are to connect your ideas to the ideas of others. So children are supposed to create their story, their narratives about the world around them through play. 3-year-old Vinny hugs her teddy bear upside down and tells her first story. There was a bear that he standed on his head. Acted out. The one-sentence story provides a strong role for Vinny. She has contributed to the literature and culture of a previously unknown group of children. Now she is known, and soon she will know others through their stories, those revealed in play, and those made permanent on paper. The stories are literature. The play is life. From the start, all roads led to fantasy play. But my maps were poorly drawn. I agonized and intellectualized, while the children played out solutions to their immediate problems and distant fears. When Sylvia, a problem child of long ago, cried and kicked in a doll corner crib, and then began to dump the dishes on the floor, I worried that she was disrupting the other girls' play. When the girls forced her to change her behavior, it almost seemed that the fantasy play was a primitive form of behavior modification designed to alter the actions of bothersome classmates. I was wrong. The out-of-step child, I discovered none too soon, is out of step only according to my rhythm. In the children's view, Sylvia was acting out one of the many roles available in a family drama. She did not spoil the play. If Sylvia had not been Bad Baby, someone else would have had to take that role. bad baby, and for that matter, angry mother or mean sister are basic themes in the spontaneous theater of the young. Once I began to view the children as storytellers and playwrights, the potential of fantasy as a learning tool overwhelmed my conventional expectations for the classroom. Such is the way life in the classroom reinterprets the research. Whatever else I may choose to watch and record, my subjects draw me into deeper concerns and more vivid visions of their world. This would also be true if I were following the children's reading or math skills. But when fantasy is the game, as it might well be in reading and math, the connections are more complex and subtle. Fantasy is a boundless topic that submits to no labels. Do we adults not continue to wonder about and, in a sense, research our own fantasies all our lives? Was it not my own best beloved teacher fantasy that led me? Was it not my own best beloved teacher fantasy that led me to worry over every inch of the classroom in pursuit of the yellow brick road on which the children and I would skip along to a magical kingdom? And the fantasy of being able to explain how it truly is with children made me finally try to separate the distractions from the real thing and stop to listen to the children. Their fantasies propelled me further into surprises and mysteries, and I hungered after better ways to report what I heard and saw, and to find out what it all had to do with teaching. This is not too much to expect from fantasy. The children do the same thing every day, without benefit of a tape recorder, and we call play. They transcribe and expose the words and images that crowd their minds and place them on a stage, becoming actor, writer, critic, linguist, mathematician, and philosopher all at once. And they don't need us to teach them how. I do, however, need them to teach me what fantasy is meant to do, and nearly everything I want to think about and write about makes better sense turned into a story. All the more so as the storytellers I now listen to are just beginning their school careers. They take nothing for granted. Everything is eventually put into a story. After more than 30 years of teaching, I must still listen carefully if I am to understand how complex ideas are studied in play. No theme is too convoluted to be unraveled by the powers of make-believe. Katie, Simon, Alex, and Arlene are playing waterbed. I have been hearing their meowing. There are 4 cats in a spaceship, but as I tune in, it becomes clear that waterbed is the topic. Where do I sleep? Simon asks. In the water bed, because you're the dad. The water turned into a bed? Turn the bed so it won't squeak and leak. Squeak and leak and peek. Only dads and moms can peek there. Meow, the water's coming down. Help, help, we can't swim. A monster. In the water he is. The bed's in the waterbed. Here's the floaters. Jump in the floaters. Later, Simon tells a story. Once, there was a little squirrel, and his mother said, go sleep in the waterbed. So he did. And he drowned inside. And he got not drowned because it leaked out and he leaked out. The mother told him to swim home, but he couldn't swim. How does the little squirrel get home, Simon, I asked, since he can't swim? It wasn't an ocean, it was just a stream, so he walked home. The play and the stories and the talk nourish one another and translate into ever more logical thought and social effectiveness. It is all there. The original, intellectual, and emotional energy, a garden waiting to burst into flower. Today, Joseph has brought a toy snake to school. Put me on the story list, he announces in lieu of saying hello. There's a snake in my story. Joseph's greeting is not unusual. The list he refers to is taped to the large round table we call the story table. And though it looks like any other messy classroom depository of crayons, markers, paper, scissors, and paste, here sit the storytellers, picture makers, and paper cutters, watching, listening, and sounding forth as so many characters in a Sayeran play. Nearly everyone has something to say to the storyteller. The effect, by the way, is quite different when the dictation takes place at a private corner desk or out in the hallway. Our kind of storytelling is a social phenomenon intended to flow through all other activities and provide the widest opportunity for a communal response. Stories are not private affairs. The individual imagination plays host to all the stimulation in the environment and causes ripples of ideas to encircle the listeners. Interesting. Sounds a little social. Social interaction helps the story evolve. That's a little Vygotsky. My role in the process is made clear from the start. First, I enable others to hear the storyteller by repeating each sentence as they write it down. This also gives the storyteller a chance to connect me if I am in error, or to change the contents of the story if another idea comes to mind. There's not one witch. There was two witches, Arlene tells me. And is there one cat? You said comes the cat. Katie is one cat and Lily is a mother cat. That's two cats because there has to have a mother because of that. Because of the witches. When there are witches, there must be a mother? Yes. I question any aspect of the story I might misinterpret. Any word, phrase, sound effect, character, or action that doesn't make sense to me without further explanation. The child knows the story will soon be acted out, and the actors will need clear directions. The story must make sense to everyone, actors, audience, and narrator. Yeah, they fall in a trap. Who did, the witches? No, there's a bad guy in the trap. So there's another bad guy beside the witches? These are good witches. Arlene decides to play it safe. The child's purposes and mine are closer together in this activity than any other I know of in the classroom. We both want to talk about the stories, a fact that lends credence to my third role as connection maker. A fact, throughout the day, I may refer to similarities between a child's story and other stories, books or events, books or events, though I try to avoid doing this while the story is being dictated. I don't wish to impose undue influence on the course of the story. The children, of course, have no such qualms. Influencing one another is exactly what they intend to do. Katie is first on today's list. There's a snake in my story, too, she tells Joseph, though a moment earlier we had been informed that her story was about a red crayon. A red crayon comes, she had begun, but now her goal is to capture Joseph's attention. Once upon a time, a snake comes, she says, and Joseph and Simon sit down to listen. And then a lion scared them away. Who's them, I asked. Well, yeah, who's them, asks Simon. The children copy my habit of questioning the storyteller, hardly needing me to instruct them. They question one another continually in play, and I simply do as they do. I have, in fact, learned from them about question asking. They seldom, for instance, ask a question of another child. They already know the answer. Is there someone in the story besides Snake, Katie? It's Alligator, she's surprised. Don't I remember that Simon was Alligator in a recent story of Joseph's? Don't have a bad alligator, Simon tells her. I won't. In storytelling, as in play, the social interactions we call interruptions usually improve the narrative. Yet, I can recall a time when I would say, please don't interrupt. Let people tell their own stories. This is kind of interesting. That was when I missed the main point of storytelling. I didn't understand that it's a shared process, a primary cultural institution, the social art of language. Katie continues, and then came the mother. There's always a mother in Katie's story. It is her main theme. All else is stage business and socializing. I'm the mother, she says. I growed big, and I scared the lion away by a red crayon. Scared the lion, I offered to correct. Scared, she insists, and is off to the doll corner before I can ask why the lion is afraid of a red crayon. Perhaps I'll find out later when we act out her story. It is one of my favorite kinds of questions because there's no way to anticipate the answer. Sometimes I wonder if the children deliberately think up such oddities because they know it pleases me to find good questions. Even if this could be true, it would demonstrate that children feel rewarded by the genuine curiosity of others. In an environment where people listen carefully and ask relevant questions because they need more information, storytellers may indeed be inspired to put surprises into their story. Inevitably, the children learn the logical implications of an unexpected outcome. It is a good training for the lifelong study of cause and effect. Joseph hands his snake to Simon. I got to do my story. Make him a big house and a front door and a back one to hide. Now we'll see parallel stories in production. Joseph's at the story table and Simon's in the blocks. There will be several interpretations of snake and alligator today. The theme is in the air, and those variations that reach the printed page will themselves be expanded and altered once they are acted out. Long ago, I discovered that the dictated segment represents but a moment in a story's life. After we act her story, Katie adds, and the baby cries. The baby? You didn't see her because she's small. Katie's story is a living, evolving entity influenced by the drama around her as well as the one outside, the one inside. Joseph puts a snake on the table and it becomes a character in her story. The red crayon with which she absent-mindedly draws rainbow arcs is used to scare the lion. If Arlene sits beside her in the story room, then a little sister may be included. No, I forgot Arlene no longer accepts little roles. She is a big sister, teenager, or mother. When storytelling becomes play writing, children are even more sensitive to the preferences of others. Joseph now is in his second year of storytelling and often consults with his actors as he develops a story. I'm just thinking here how this really makes me think of anti-bias education and about like making sure that everyone is seen and that the children are naturally kind of like making sure that they're kind of like anti-bias, like checking in with them to see like if it's okay if they're willing to do the role the way that the writer is like planning to write it and willing to alter it if they're not. Once when Snake was sleeping and he was hearing noises, bump, 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 that was his friend Alligator, that's Simon. Then there was a bang, ding, bang, dong, ding, dong. Do you like that, Simon? And then Snake said to Alligator, I want something to eat. And Alligator said, well, come to my house. Then the mother snake comes. Katie, you're the mother snake. And she has 6 babies. Then a lion comes, and the lion tries to get into the dream, but he can't, so he goes away. How does the lion try to get into the dream, I ask? Well, he goes grrr, and he pushes with his feet on the white part. Does Snake hear him? No, because he slept tight. Dreams are an expansive topic in general, and a dream that enters a story offers endless possibilities for the curious teacher. Remember we talked about how the lion tries to get into the dream? I asked Joseph when we act out his story. Of course he remembers. Children remember every event connected to their stories and play. Joseph reproduces his answer verbatim. He doesn't need a tape recorder as I do to keep an accurate record. Immediately, Alex has advice for Joseph. Pretend the lion went inside the dream, and when he seed so much of snakes, he goes, wah! And he runs away. Alex, as the lion, has enlarged his own role, just as he would do in play. Intuitively, the children perceive that stories belong in the category of play. Freewheeling scripts that always benefit from spontaneous improvisations. Stories that are not acted out are fleeting dreams, private fantasies, disconnected and unexamined. If in the press of a busy day I'm tempted to shorten the process by only reading the stories aloud and skipping the dramatizations, the children object. They say, but we haven't done the story. It is the same complaint we hear when the cleanup bell sounds. We didn't get to play in the spaceship yet. We only just builded it. The unacted story has not been played in. It is an empty structure. The process is incomplete. The children like to dramatize books and fairy tales, but are not dismayed if there is time only to read them. Acting them out is better, but listening is usually enough. They feel quite differently about their own stories. Once they see them in action, they are never again satisfied with half a loaf. Furthermore, from the teacher's point of view, the events of play and story form the children's best subject, the one they are most eager to discuss and extend to other issues. I'm still thinking about that lion and the dream. I tell Joseph at snack. You said the lion couldn't get into the dream because the snakes were asleep. Yeah, see, when you stay sleeping, the gate locks. The gate to the dream? Both gates, right, Joseph? Simon calls out. Front and back, right? Yeah, but Joseph, sometimes a bad guy, that kind of dragon with that dark part, could get in because he walks where the rug doesn't come. Then you hear the footsteps, I ask, because there's no rug. Yeah, like in my kitchen, I hear dinosaurs. Those kind of dinosaur steps, they are huge. Alex has everyone's attention. Maybe a trap. Make a trap, Joseph decides. Then he goes whoosh down to the hall to the dungeon. Say, Joseph, I wonder if Katie's red crayon could scare the lion in that dream, I suggest. That kind is not for dreams, by which he must mean dreams cannot be controlled by other people's magic. But you could use it for a story, he adds graciously. These are open-ended dialogues. Since the children invent the premises, they can push further and further toward the logical consequences of their positions. They easily debate such questions as what happens in a dream, what sort of magic protects the dreaming child. Does the fact that you can imagine different endings to a story mean that you have more control over a story than you do over a dream? But if you tell a story about a dream, what sort of control is that? Here are the serious and lively issues that enter the literature and lore of the classroom. But Jason is not yet curious enough to listen. His attention is cornered by his helicopter. This blade is turning around faster, faster. Oh no. Now it's broken. Oh, broken. I have to fix it.